In 2015, the Supreme Court decided in the case of Obergefell versus Hodges that the 14th Amendment protected the right of homosexuals to get married. In 2026, the state of Tennessee is working on legislation that points out that private individuals and organizations are not bound by the 14th Amendment and therefore by Obergefell. We'll talk more about that next on the Constitution Study.
Neighbors and have a few good friends. Every day we're everyday Americans. Oh, every day we're everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution. Teach Right Generation Free. Glad you could join me today. Obergefell is one of those decisions that, well, just seems to keep coming up back and over again. Now, I'm curious about this legislation. It's still working its way through the Tennessee legislature, but it's important to understand why this legislation may work. That seems to be important to me. Now, if you want to find out more, as always, head to the website constitutionstudy.com and check out the article. I've got links to all my sources, and you can also comment or sign up for a mailing list or anything like that. I'll talk more about the website at the end of the episode, but for now, let's take a look at this Tennessee legislation. In 2015, the Supreme Court heard the case Obergefell versus Hodges and decided the 14th Amendment requires a state to license a marriage between two people of the same sex and to recognize a marriage between two people of the same sex when their marriage was lawfully licensed and performed out of state. Like many others, I argue that the 14th Amendment said no such thing. As Justice Scalia stated in his dissent, today's decree says that my ruler and the ruler of 320 million Americans coast to coast is a majority of the 9 lawyers on the Supreme Court. The opinion in these cases is the furthest extension in the fact and the furthest extension one can even imagine of the court's claimed power to create liberties that the Constitution and its amendments neglect to mention. This practice of constitutional revision by an unelected committee of 9, always accompanied, as it is today, by extravagant praise of liberty, robs the people of the most important liberty they asserted in the Declaration of Independence and won in the Revolution of 1776. The freedom to govern themselves. To me, the issue isn't so much the making up of liberties not mentioned in the Constitution. After all, the 9th Amendment states, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained by the people. Now, to me, the true problem with the Obergefell decision was and is the court's decision to redefine the word marriage in direct opposition to the people of the several states. Also, the court claimed to end the debate going on at the time about the definition of marriage. The court came to this decision by claiming that the right to marry is a liberty, regardless of the legal definition of marriage. The majority completely ignored the liberty of the people who would be forced to recognize and license things that were not marriage as if they were. As Justice Roberts pointed out in his dissent, there is no logical reason why this expansion of the definition of marriage would not one day expand even further. It is striking how much of the majority's reasoning would apply with equal force to the claim of a fundamental right to plural marriage. If there is dignity in the bond between two men or two women who seek to marry and in their autonomy to make such profound choices, why would there be any less dignity in the bond between 3 people who, in exercising their autonomy, seek to make the profound choice to marry? If a same-sex couple has a constitutional right to marry because their children would otherwise suffer the stigma of knowing their families are somehow lesser, why wouldn't the same reasoning apply to a family of 3 or more persons raising children? If not having the opportunity to marry serves to disrespect and subordinate gay and lesbian couples, why would the same imposition of this disability serve to disrespect and subordinate people who find fulfillment in polyamorous relationships? Now, while the court claimed that state laws, even state constitutions, defining marriage as one man and one woman were unconstitutional, several states disagreed. One of those states in the Obergefell case was Tennessee. More than 10 years after the Obergefell decision, the Tennessee legislature is considering pushing back on part of this judicial overreach. To start with, we have to realize that it's still the policy of the state of Tennessee to only recognize opposite-sex marriage. From the Tennessee Code annotated section 36-3.113 reads, Tennessee's marriage licensing laws reinforce, carry forward, and make explicit the long-standing public policy of this state to recognize the family as essential to social and economic order and the common good and as the fundamental building block of our society. To that end, it is further public policy of this state that the historical institution and legal contract solemnizing the relationship of one man and one woman shall be the only legally recognized marital contract in this state in order to provide the unique and exclusive rights and privileges to marriage. The legal union in matrimony of only one man and one woman shall be the only recognized marriage in this state. Now, as I understand it, various state agencies and subdivisions do issue and recognize same-sex marriage licenses due to the Obergefell decision. However, HB 1473 would codify the limitation of that decision, be it enacted by the General Assembly of the state of Tennessee. Tennessee Code annotated section 36.3.113 is amended by adding the following new subsection. Private citizens and organizations are not bound by the 14th Amendment or by the Supreme Court's purported interpretation of the 14th Amendment in Obergefell v. Hodges. And no private citizen or organization in this state is required to recognize a marriage or a purported marriage between individuals of the same sex, notwithstanding any other law. Have you ever had one of those moments when the truth just simply explodes in your head? That was my reaction when I first read this legislation. Now, I'm sure someone out there is saying, but wait, Paul, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. How can a state simply ignore it? However, it's not ignoring the Constitution. It's being aware of the details. For example, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, which the Obergefell Court based their decision on, states, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. HB 1473 is correct that the 14th Amendment binds states, not private citizens or organizations. And since the Supreme Court cannot make law or amend the Constitution, their decisions based on the 14th Amendment similarly cannot be binding on private citizens or organizations. HB 1473 also deals with the Board of Judicial Conduct. Tennessee Code annotated section 175301 is amended by adding the following new subsection. Notwithstanding any other law, the board shall not discipline, sanction, or threaten to discipline or sanction any person for declining to celebrate or to officiate at a marriage or commitment ceremony that falls outside of the definition of marriage provided in this code. Meaning the Board of Judicial Conduct could not sanction judges who refuse to officiate at marriage ceremonies that fall outside the traditional definition of marriage. Now, since the bill states that the board shall not discipline any person, does that mean that a judge who upholds the right of an individual to refuse to celebrate or officiate at same-sex marriage would also be protected? Now, sometimes the simple answer is the most powerful. While the fact that the Obergefell decision is a violation of the Constitution of the United States seems lost on most people, the state of Tennessee is considering using their legitimate state power to protect their citizens. Now, while claiming to protect the liberty of those who wish to redefine marriage by fiat with the 14th Amendment, the court infringes on the liberty protected by the Fifth Amendment of those who wish to maintain the traditional definition of marriage. The Tennessee legislature is considering legislation that will protect that liberty, and they're using a little considered fact about the 14th Amendment to do so. As of this episode, the Tennessee House has passed HB 1473 and sent it to the Senate. The Senate has deferred consideration by their Judiciary Committee until the next legislative session in 2027. Isn't that interesting? The fact that the 14th Amendment applies to states, not individuals, is a whole basis for 1473. It's one of those things that it's obvious when I saw it, I just hadn't thought of that, which reminds you of a saying someone said. It's called an intot moment, I-N-T-O-T. I never thought of that. I hadn't thought of this, but once I heard it, it's beautiful. I've actually talked to the representative who proposed this, and I'm hoping to keep up to date. I want this to move forward. I think it's a great idea. Maybe one that other states that actually believe in, rights might be interested in copying it. Let me know. You'll have the link to the legislation in the article on the website, constitutionstudy.com. So I'm sure the state of Tennessee would be happy if you sent that to your state legislator and say, hey, can we look at this? Maybe we can start another movement. As I said, you can find the links and all the other stuff on the website, constitutionstudy.com. And of course, you can always support the work that we're doing there by clicking on the store button and then buying something. A book, a t-shirt, a mug, or just donate to the cause. You can do that all at constitutionstudy.com/shop. Of course, you can also support us with your cell phone. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. That's not why I joined them. In short, I joined them because they take a portion of every dollar they make to support organizations that are protecting your rights, defending your rights. And now that includes the Constitution Study. So go to patriotmobile.com/Constitution, find a plan that works for you, and when you pay your cell phone bill, well, you help support the work that we're doing here at the Constitution Study. By the way, check to see if you're eligible for a discount. Veterans, first responders, even families with multiple lines are eligible for discounts. And when you check out, use the code Constitution, you'll get your activation absolutely free. So join the movement. Protect your rights by supporting the work we're doing here at the Constitution Study by going to patriotmobile.com/Constitution, finding a plan and discount that works for you. Don't forget, use that code Constitution at checkout and you'll get activation absolutely free. Now, I also hope you'll come back and join us here, maybe bring a friend or two the next time we meet for the Constitution Study.
Love the neighbors and have a few good friends.